Welcome back to Daybreak. It is 7:25 now. Thanks so much for staying with us.
That's right. So this morning, we are introducing a series called Stories of Breast Cancer.
And throughout the month, we're going to be meeting individuals who are personally impacted by this disease.
Rene Dixon has a passion for fashion and is currently in the marketing industry.
She is 26 years old and was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer at 22.
Let's hear her journey.
Stories of Breast Cancer, brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
I found a lump during a self-exam and I brought it to the attention of my doctor, and after an ultrasound was inconclusive, they determined that it was just a benign lymph node or a lump. Fast forward 2 more years and I was a junior in college, and I suddenly started getting these back pains that were not going away with the help of a chiropractor. So I continued to see the chiropractor for a couple months, and when nothing got better, then I decided, okay, something must be wrong. But it wasn't until I came home for spring break and I was just laying down one day and my back completely froze. After the tumor in my hip was discovered, they ran further testing and they said, the tumor is malignant, meaning it's cancerous and it's beyond the scope that we can handle, so you need to see a specialist. I just wasn't scared at that time. But once it got into the discovery that it was from breast cancer and that it was actually stage 4, then I started to get really scared. Because I was in so much pain from the multiple tumors in my bones, I had to start radiation right away to try to get that under control. And I was refusing chemo at the time because I was terrified of chemo, and it just wasn't going to work if I didn't do it. So eventually I found somewhere that I was comfortable and I started chemo, and the following year I did a lumpectomy as well as radiation, and I just continued on treatment since then. There were a couple low points during this time. I cannot deny that at all. There were nights where I just felt like I'm going to stop taking all my medication and that would be it. Whatever happens, happens, because I just felt like I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I would say one of the most difficult challenges, for any woman would be losing their hair. And that's the first thing people ask when they say that they have to do chemo. You're like, am I going to lose my hair? But I found a way to cope with that because I just bought, I don't even know how many wigs I had, like 50 wigs. And I just changed my style to suit my mood, and that kind of helped me deal with it. I mean, at the same time, it's like, oh, can this be over already? But you just have to learn different ways of dealing with it. I remember buying my first wig, and I hadn't lost my hair yet, but I knew it was inevitable. So I went into the store and I'm like, I'm gonna try it on, and the lady's asking me, why do you need a wig? You have long hair. And I'm just like, I just want to try a wig on. And then I try it on and I tell her eventually, I have to do chemo. I have breast cancer. And she said, well, how did you get it? She's like, what gave it to you? And I'm like, I don't know. You're trying to grasp the whole concept of what is going on right now, and then you have friends that send you like 1,000,001 food and treatment options about this kills cancer and that kills cancer, and you have to drink this and you have to eat that. And at first I went along with it because I'm trying to do anything to get rid of this. So I was on strict diets and not drinking this, eating this, I don't know, taking this leaf off this tree and boiling it and drinking it. It was just overwhelming, and then it gets to a point where you're like, okay, you guys need to calm down and let me just do what I have to do. But I mean, I know they're just trying to help. It just sometimes can be quite overwhelming. you know, you're dealing with something as massive as a cancer diagnosis, but you still have to move on, like life still goes on. And so I'm dealing with university, which it was fine. You expect that to be hard work. But at the same time, you deal with relationships and you deal with friendships, and things go wrong. Nothing's going to be perfect all the time. So, I mean, but I continued to live. I still went out with my friends and traveled and stuff, so I had fun. My fashion throughout this time definitely changed because I think fashion can be used as an expression. So I like to play around, spice it up. Some days when I felt at my lowest, it was like, okay, get up, get dressed up. I don't care if I was going to the supermarket. Like, I just felt like if I look good, then I would feel better. Currently, I am still in treatment. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's steady and slightly improving. So I'm just going to keep continuing on and doing what I have to do to get better. My words of encouragement would be to never give up, to keep fighting, and just because you're diagnosed with breast cancer or any other kind of cancer at whatever stage, that doesn't mean that it's a death sentence. I think that, you know, all hope is valid.
The Stories of Breast Cancer, brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
If you'd like to follow Renee's journey, you can read her blog. Just log on to lovenay.tumblr.com.
That's right. So we want to talk about signs and symptoms of breast cancer. And there are often no symptoms of breast cancer, but sometimes women may discover a problem on their own. Signs and symptoms that you may want to be aware of include a breast lump or thickening that feels different from the surrounding tissue as well.
There's also bloody discharge from the nipple. You can also experience pain and swelling on part of the breast or a dimpling.
And if you are experiencing any of these, you want to make sure to make an appointment to see your doctor.
And of course, join us next week as we share with you another story of breast cancer.